Now that we've officially entered the NHL All-Star break, it's time once again to play with the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator. Who might win the first overall pick in the 2023 NHL Draft in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes? Plus, we're going to complete a top 10 mock draft after we do the simulation. We'll do all that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're running an NHL Draft Lottery Simulation. So we're going to take a look at the standings as of the NHL All-Star break, take a look at which teams are in the Draft Lottery, run a simulation to see who would win the first overall pick of the Connor Bedard sweepstakes known as the 2023 NHL Draft. Once we have the draft order simulated, we will then complete a mock draft. We'll take a look at the top 10 picks and see where I think players are going to go and which players are going to be selected by which team. So let's, for now, jump onto the computer, complete the draft lottery simulation, and see who the lucky team just might be. Okay, so as you can see, we're now on the tankathon.com website. We'll take a look here first at the draft order, at least as of based on the standings. There's only so many teams eligible to move up to the first overall selection. Reminder that you can only move up a maximum of 10 spots. So obviously anybody ranked under the 11th spot will not have a shot at first overall, but they can certainly still move up 10 spots total, giving them a shot to have a drastic jump where they are in the draft order. Of course, also keep in mind, you're only allowed to win the draft lottery maximum of 2 times in a 5-year span. So we'll have to start keeping track of those things moving forward here as well. So obviously you have teams like the Columbus Blue Jackets, Chicago Blackhawks, the Anaheim Ducks, Arizona Coyotes, San Jose Sharks, Montreal Canadians, Vancouver Canucks, St. Louis Blues, Philadelphia Flyers, and the Ottawa Senators right now will be in our top 10 draft selection here when we do the mock draft here momentarily. So obviously those are the teams that are mostly going to be in the mix here. So let's go ahead and hit the button here to simulate the lottery and see who ends up being the lucky team who gets first overall. And there we have it, the Anaheim Ducks. They win the draft lottery here, and they get the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. That's absolutely huge for Anaheim. Obviously, Columbus and Chicago, Arizona, all down there, and really the bottom of the standings all kind of deserve the same, sort of opportunity here. But, one thing about Anaheim is they have Mason McTavish. Mason McTavish actually is good friends and has great chemistry with Connor Bedard. That could be a lethal dynamic duo down the road. But of course, let's now jump over to the mock draft section of the video. We're going to take a look at the top 10 standings. Obviously, the Ducks will pick first, followed by Columbus, Chicago, Arizona, San Jose, Montreal, Vancouver, St. Louis, Philly, and Ottawa. And I'll let you know who I think each team is going to select. Picking first overall, we have the Anaheim Ducks. No doubt about it, they're going Connor Bedard of the WHL's Regina Pats. Obviously, he appears to be a generational type talent. We saw record-setting performance at the World Junior Championships. This guy is just tearing it up in the Western Hockey League, selling out arenas, including NHL arenas that some of the junior teams play at. He is such a treat to watch and a highly skilled kid. There's absolutely no doubt whoever gets this selection and is fortunate enough to pick first, 100% is taking Connor Bedard. At second overall, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Jackets will select Canadian-born forward Adam Fantilli of the University of Michigan. Fantilli is 6'2", 187 pounds, having a real solid year offensively at the University of Michigan. Played for Canada at the World Juniors. Started a little bit slow, but it's not unusual for underage players who haven't been drafted yet, but certainly picked it up as the tournament went on. He also appears to be the type of player who's projected to be a number 1 center, not a generational talent like Bedard, but certainly a franchise-altering talent. It was a solid top 6 centerman that a team like Columbus could certainly benefit from, as many of the other teams here in the draft as well. Picking third overall, we have the Chicago Blackhawks, and I have them taking the Swedish player Leo Carlsson, who's the highest-ranked European player. Of course, not quite clear yet if Carlsson will be a center or a winger. He plays both right now. I think the Hawks would love for him to be a center if they were able to draft him. He's 6'3", 195 pounds. Similar mold to Adam Fantilli. Has great puck skills, really smart player, highly skilled, high hockey IQ. Scored some big goals for Sweden at the World Juniors. Seems to be a guy who responds well to pressure. I think that Carlsson is going to be a real solid player. I don't think there's a great deal of difference between Fantilli and Carlsson. as far as their ceiling goes. I think long term down the road, at least how things look today, things can always work out differently. But I would not be shocked to see them have very similar career paths, similar development, and similar production value. Selecting at number 4, we have the Arizona Coyotes, and I have them taking Matvei MItchkov, the Russian player who's, I guess you could call it, almost a little bit of a controversial pick just because of the fact that we don't know how long he's going to remain playing in Russia. He does have a long-term contract to stay over there. The Coyotes might be waiting 3 years possibly for him to make the jump over, or whoever else actually drafts him if they are the team. I thought Arizona would take the chance, given if the draft order turns out in this order. Obviously, they're going to be, likely 3 years plus from getting into their new arena. They're obviously going to be going through a fairly deep and long-term rebuild. So why not take the best player available, regardless of when he's going to make the jump to the NHL? If they're continuing to be low in the standings, they'll continue to have high picks for the next couple of years. And Michkov, who's extremely skilled with a high-end playmaking ability and ability to score goals. At one point was in the conversation with Connor Bedard. I think Bedard pulled ahead of him, and then of course you get the Russian factor, which I think will definitely concern some teams. But I think him going to 4th overall to Arizona would be a good choice here. Picking number 5 overall, we have the San Jose Sharks, and I have them taking Zach Benson, who's another dynamic player from the Western Hockey League. It was Winnipeg Ice Team. He's 5'10", only around 160 pounds, so he's going to certainly need to put some muscle on, get a little bit bigger and stronger. But he's certainly one of the draft's smartest players, has great acceleration, great puck skills, a really high-skilled player who can drive play and be a real force offensively. I think Benson would be a great pick in San Jose. They're going to need a high-end offensive player if they can find it here. And if they're picking top 5, they're bound to get one for sure. So Benson would be a terrific choice for them. Number 6 overall, we have the Montreal Canadiens. I have the Canadiens selecting American-born centerman Will Smith, who is currently part of the United States National Team Development Program, scheduled to go to Boston College. Currently a centerman, 6 feet tall, around 172 pounds. Will Smith's having a real solid season here so far. He appears to be one of the best prolific goal scorers in this draft. Very impressive puck skills and really certainly great passing skills too. So I think Will Smith looks like he's going to be the real deal here and be a real solid top 6 center. Might be a real good compliment to a guy like Nick Suzuki and Kirby Dach on this Habs roster moving forward. At number 7, we have the Vancouver Canucks make the next selection, and I have them taking Czech Republic player Edward Shalin. He had a real good showing at the World Juniors. He plays right wing, 6'1", 168 pounds, playing with HC Cometa Brno. Offensively gifted winger with great puck handling skills. He's really quick, very agile, very smart. It seemed to me when I saw the Czechia games at the World Juniors, it just seemed like he was always involved, all around it, never stops, has a good motor. And Charlotte, to me, would be a great player for the Canucks, who are obviously going to be retooling and changing up the mix there. There should be some top 6 openings, I would think, in the next couple of years as they kind of retool and kind of go through some of these changes. So it'd be a good chance for him to get in there with some of the other guys and make a big impact on the Canucks roster. Number 8 overall, we have the St. Louis Blues. The Blues are not a team that's picked overly high here in recent years. They've typically been a playoff team, but certainly appear right now to be falling out of it. But I have them selecting Slovakian player Dalibor Dvorsky. Right now, he's looking like he's going to be a center. That's where he's been playing. Could end up being a winger at the NHL, but certainly projecting right now and being drafted as a center. He's got good size, 6'1", 200 pounds. He has a great shot. He uses his size to gain good positioning in and around the net, which is good. Solid two-way player as well. So you're bound to get that. He's probably projected more like a number 2 center who can give you that solid 200-foot game. Sometimes he struggles with pace. So to me, he needs to work on getting a little bit quicker. But overall, a lot of the other skill sets there, he certainly had a pretty good showing here with Slovakia, and I think would be a great fit, especially if they move on from Ryan O'Reilly. Even if they don't now, they will be moving on from O'Reilly, I'm sure, in the next little while in short order. And he might be a similar type of player who can play a similar game and be the number top 6 center to kind of have a similar style in a couple of years when he's NHL ready. At number 9 overall, we have the Philadelphia Flyers selecting. I have them taking Matthew Wood, who's a Canadian-born player but playing in the U.S. college system for the University of Connecticut is where he'll be drafted. And he's 6'3", 190 pounds, He's a center or winger. Looks like he's projecting to be more than likely at center at the NHL level. Has the size and strength. Had a real solid showing in the BCHL before making the jump. He put up over 85 points in 46 games in the 21-22 season. Real rangy player, goal-scoring type of forward with real good hands for his size. He's got a great shot. Probably could stand to be a little stronger board play, stronger on a stick, considering the size and weight that he has. Just a matter of really putting it all together here. But overall, a great prospect. He draws some comparisons to Austin Matthews, only on how he shoots the puck. So not to say he's going to be a Matthews-type player, but he certainly has a similar type of shot. At number 10 overall, we have Andrew Crystal. Crystal certainly another player who's kind of flying under the radar a little bit to me. I think you get more attention in this draft if it wasn't for some higher skilled players at the top, like a Connor Bedard, but he can be a very gifted offensive player who can be very, very impactful overall. To me, the Ottawa Senators, if they end up having another top 10 pick and they don't trade the pick, they're going to get themselves a real good player. Obviously, there's not much room on that roster right now. If you look at a lot of their young players that have turned into full-time NHLers and extended long-term, plus some of the other prospects already in the system, it's hard to imagine adding another dynamic player. They really need help on the blue line, but obviously they need that help today, not in 2 or 3 years' time down the road. So I wouldn't be shocked if Ottawa trades this pick if they haven't already and using it on a defenseman, but if Crystal's available and they are selecting, I see him being a pretty good selection for them to add to an already dynamic group of young offensive forwards.
So that is my top 10 mock draft and draft lottery simulation for today. Leave a comment down below. Which team do you think needs Bedard the most? Which team are you hoping wins the sweepstakes here and lands what appears to be the next NHL generational talent? Let me know your thoughts on all of that and my selections down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. I'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.